Hi, my name is Sam Johnson and I am a voice teacher. I'm going to be reacting to and analyzing Stephen Murgatroyd singing My Heart Will Go On. This is a fan-submitted video. I've never heard this man sing before, so I'm just going to go into it how I would treat a new student who was just coming into me, and this is the first thing that I heard from them. I don't have any idea what skill level they're at, so this will be a fun experiment. Tough choice. Good, so right now you're at least getting up into your head voice a little bit. The pitch is off a little bit, but at this stage, I don't really care about pitch when I'm evaluating someone. My main goal is to find out why it's going like this. So what I'm hearing is that he's going up the octave. It's a little bit breathy, but that's actually making it a consistent sound. Whatever he's doing, it is pretty consistent. I think that the next step would be try to find a little bit more chord closure in it. Oftentimes that's a way to find a little bit more control, and you'll have a little bit more of a visceral feeling, because if you feel that it's buzzing, it's a lot easier to place whatever you're hearing with what you feel. Good, so on distance, kind of pull back his tongue. Distance, distance, distance versus distance. Even, I still made it up to the note that time, kind of, but because my tongue was all the way back, it was hard for it to tune up all the way. So I think that just getting the tongue out of the way rather than having that pull out is going to be a really nice way to tune that one up. Because he did start that phrase on pitch. Even though the last one wasn't quite, this one was on pitch. He's able to do this. It's just he needs to figure out what is making some of these pitch issues happen, and I think that the tongue is one of those things. Spaces between us, you have come to show you go on. Good, so with that one, it just dropped off at the end. So it's mostly holding on to the phrase, holding on to the feeling that you have for the rest of the phrase until the end of the phrase. A lot of times people kind of let go, and that's when the pitch might change or will lose the tonal color that was working before. So just make sure that you're holding on through the end of phrases, and that when you cut off, it goes from beautiful tone to nothing, rather than beautiful tone to let go and then something's weird is happening and then nothing. Just cut it off when you need to cut it off. Good, so that time he allowed a little bit more chord closure to happen as he went up to that high note. And that was a B. Like, that was a pretty high note, and he was mostly on pitch with that. As he started coming back down, he didn't hold on to that same level of connection, and it kind of got breathy, and that changed the pitch. So it started losing the pitch as he started going down. So when you go up to that high note, hold on to that feeling, let it kind of move back down into your chest as you're going down, rather than just like staying stuck up here. You obviously asked for a more clear sound up at the top rather than some of the other times where you were asking for more of a breathy sound. We just need to ask for that clear sound to continue as you come back down. That will help your pitch because it will be consistent vocal cord closure rather than a lot of it up at the top and then something that's imbalanced as you start going lower. See, like with that one, on go, he started at go, and it was fine, and then as he wanted to go down to on, he didn't let that feeling move back down into his chest. Whatever was working for the top one worked for the top one, but the lower note, he tried to treat it like the top one rather than letting the feeling move down a little bit. Pretty good. Yeah, that time it was a little bit better as he came back down because he still had that clear forward sound up at the top, but as he went down, he didn't let go. It didn't get breathy like the time before, and it was more in tune than the time before. Another thing that I think will help tune to that B a little bit faster is instead of going, ah, relaxing everything a little bit more, will, ah, versus will, ah, just because that sound is a little bit more brash, and it doesn't connect with the rest of the sounds that he was making in the phrase. Yeah, see, he's so stuck in head voice for a lot of this, or in falsetto, whatever you want to call it, because it is a little bit breathier. There were some times where he was allowing it to move back into his chest a little bit more, but if you're stuck up there, if you don't have very much chord closure, it's going to be really hard to tune low notes. One thing that I think might be nice is practicing this song an octave lower, just to get used to what it feels like to make those sounds a little bit bigger. Then when you come back up to this high one, you will have had that practice going into your chest voice, because almost all of it's going to be in that lower, more connected place. And then you'll be able to hold on to that and not like get stuck up in your head for all of it. So that's a big thing. And then the other one is just tongue. So many exercises to release your tongue. One of them that's really good is just sticking it out as far as you can, because then it kind of stretches out the bass. So just stick it out and try to touch your chin. That feels so good. And then your nose. And then the left. I needed to do this. I'm really tense. And the other way. And then around. And then try to brush your teeth with it. Doing that is a nice thing to kind of just be aware of what's going on at the root of your tongue. Another thing that's nice is trying to stick out your tongue, hold it with your teeth, and just hum through it like That way you'll know what it feels like to sing without your tongue flexing like this, because it's going to be occupied by being stuck out rather than flexing and pulling back.
Love can touch us one time, almost for a lifetime, and never let go till we go.
That time he was able to tune to it, but it became breathy because he wasn't letting more chord closure come in. The way that I would suggest starting to add in a little bit more of that chord closure is just doing squeaky hum exercises. What that does is it brings your chords gently together, because it makes it so that you're doing it on every onset the exact same. If we were doing every one of those notes sounds pretty similar, because my focus is on how I'm starting them with the same little squeaky type sound. Not breathy like not completely closed off like but just a little bit of squeakiness, like you were imitating a squeaky or creaky door, like that little sound just brings the chords together gently. I also like it because you tend to feel the sound a lot more in your lips, and that's an easier way to start matching pitch a little bit more. So the first step, if he's going to start doing it, if he's going to continue singing it this high, is just sing it on that squeaky hum to get used to what it feels like to have your chords together as you go higher. As you get used to that, start opening it into different sounds and seeing if you can maintain that feeling that you get when you do it on the squeak. Because if you're doing it on the squeak and it's doing it well, whatever you feel like, that's correct. And then we just need to keep opening it up and holding on to that feeling as well as you can.
Love was when I loved you.
See, that time he held on to it. He didn't have it flipped like the time before. Love is when, and it was so much easier to tune to it because it's on this E, and the E is kind of one of the points, it's on your bridge. So if you start bringing the head voice down lower than E, that's when it's going to start dropping out a little bit more. What he did then is he held on to chest voice. It was a little bit higher chest voice, but that's at least a start. You just need to start getting more used to that feeling of holding on to chord closure.
One true time I hold to in my life will.
So in that phrase, it started with his tongue a little back, in my life, and then when he went to the M, it came forward, it tuned up. And then he lets go again, rather than mixing them together. Yeah, just hold on as you come back down. You started it right. So he started with a near, far, or near, far, a little bit more closed, or a little bit more chord closure and connected. And then when he went up, he stayed connected, but when he came back down, he let go. So come back to where you started. The way that he started that phrase was fine. It didn't really start getting completely off until halfway through. Again, though, I don't really care about pitch at this point. I'm just hearing for why this is happening. As soon as you start fixing some of these types of things, a lot of the issues with pitch will go away. Sometimes people's pitch issues are because they're concerned so much with being on pitch that they don't let their body work in new ways, and then they never figure out different ways to be on pitch. So it's like trying hard in that way limits your progression. I think that just stop judging what you hear and just start asking for these feelings to remain consistent across your range. And then the pitch issues kind of take care of yourself the more that you just spend time making sounds throughout your range. Pretty good. That's the easiest it sounded so far. Good, so that time it started, whoa, and then it dropped back, whoa, and that's when it went a little bit flat. How he started it, he just needs to hold on to that feeling. Once versus once. Nice. Yeah, that time when he went, he actually did the line before a little bit narrower. You're here in my heart, and then when he went to and, everything fell apart, and that's why the vowel sounds like it doesn't fit with the rest of it. If you went, and you're here in my heart, and a little more heart, and rather than hard, and then it would sound like it fits with the phrase more. He didn't do it, and so it pops out of the texture. As he ended the phrase, it sounded like he was running out of breath a little bit and collapsing onto it rather than learning how to keep an even airflow. With stuff like that, it will help significantly when he starts adding in a little bit more chord closure all the way through his range. Because what happens if you are going from a place of high or moderate chord closure to a place where there's not very much in the same phrase is you just start losing breath all the way through, and so you won't have enough in the tank to finish a full phrase. Just figure out how to monitor how much chord closure first, and it takes care of almost all of these problems. See, it started a little bit tense because he was preparing for the note. You could see, okay, here it's coming up, and then he came in a little tense, and then he relaxed into it. It actually tuned throughout the note. So just figure out what it feels like once he tuned, start there, and then through repetition, you get to know what it feels like to start in tune. And then as you went back up, it kind of went out again, but you have to take it note by note. That's not bad. Yeah, he had some parts that were coming back in. It's just inconsistent. So find the things that are good, hold on to that feeling, start getting rid of the things where it falls apart. Another thing is, as he started moving his head a little bit more forward, it seemed to tune. I'm not sure if that was a thing, but just make sure that you're not hunching over or having like interesting neck positions. Just as easy and relaxed as you can get all of this. That generally helps the act of singing, which will in turn give you more reliable pitch. And then he let go again. And then he connected really big. I would actually start by using that quite a bit because it feels, that's an easy one to feel what it's like to hold on. Because if you go, it's connected. It has a lot of ring, like what he's doing at the top. He's actually doing a lot of things really well with that. The problem is when he starts adding in these words, it like goes off. So he needs to figure out what it feels like to hold on to that and change around vowels. That's going to be a big thing, but don't focus on the things that are like not working well. Focus on the things that are tuning well, that do feel good, and then see if we can hold on and make the whole song like that before we start adding in different styles. And then when he went back down, it just started grabbing in the tongue again. So, safe in my heart. That's where it grabbed. It was actually okay at the top. It seems like his tongue tension is kind of coupled with the feeling of chest voice. So I think doing some other exercises to kind of decouple that would be a nice step, just so that he could feel this presence in his chest without having this kind of tongue tension behind it. And then he's stuck in chest and it wasn't moving back up. So it becomes a little bit flat because he wasn't letting it move back up into his head the way that he had some previous times. So he's able to tune. He can tune. It's just sometimes it's a guess. Sometimes it's a guess for how to make the muscles and the breath and the vowel all work together to make the tune a little bit more accurate. And because it's a guess some of those times, he starts changing things and then it makes it harder rather than just spending enough time on a uniform sound that you know what it feels like all the way through your voice. And you know, like, oh yeah, I can make this sound here, I can make it here and here and here and here, and it all feels pretty similar. And then using that unifying thread to tie his voice together. Because right now what's happening is sometimes it's working, but it's completely on accident. So if he can just find those times that it's working, even if it's on accident, hold on to that, and then it will start influencing the way that he's singing everything else. So I don't think that he's completely hopeless. It sounds like he loves it and that he's willing to work. And I think that the most important thing is going to be focusing on what it feels like when it works. It'll be good to have someone who he trusts and who isn't going to be a bully help him by listening to those times and telling him, yeah, that's the one. That's the time that it worked really well. What did that feel like? And just make sure that you're aware of that and then start exploring his voice around, but still living in that land of pretty good configuration rather than losing it all the time. Once you're aware of what it feels like when it's good and what it feels like when it's not as good, you can just start telling yourself, oh, that felt good. That was probably it. Or that felt like what it's like when I'm singing well. And then just hold on to the feeling, because it's hard for us to just micromanage all of these muscles, especially when we're just learning. It's a lot easier to just focus on feelings and sensations and just maintaining that throughout a range. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Go share with your friends if you think that they'd learn something from this video. And go check out my website, vocalease.net, if you're interested in signing up for lessons. There's a link in my description, as well as a link to my Patreon and my Instagram. Have a good day.